Hey, good morning, my friends. This is MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. If you could at the moment, hit the share button and let your friends know that this is how we update you live here on Facebook. You'll be able to ask questions a little later on. I guess stealing from a guy that I like to watch on CNBC, Jim Cramer's The Lightning Round. Later on, I'll take some questions from you, hopefully, if my system works. Hey, it will. Good morning, Susan Wallace from Grand Rapids. But let's get to it. So, updates. Not much change in the favorable direction, with a few changes of possibly more ice and possibly not as much of a warm up tomorrow as I talked about yesterday. So let's get to it. First place to start, I think, is to show you where all the warnings are in effect, and that will essentially give you the freezing rain to rain area, the ice storm area, and the sleet storm area, and then the snowstorm. So let's get to it. And again, here it is. So your ice storm warning basically stretches from north of Detroit in that that dark purple type color, through Oakland County, through Lansing, Ann Arbor, to Kalamazoo, and on to the west. And folks, I will get to places here in just a moment. So let's hold off on the questions. Let me just get everybody updated. The purple, the true purple, Detroit and the southern border counties, that's a winter weather advisory for 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of freezing rain, and then temperatures warming and melting off. Then you've got your ice storm warning for about two rows of counties. Then you got your sleet, snow, and freezing rain mixed from Grand Rapids to Flint to Saginaw. And then north of Saginaw, you have mostly all snow, heavy snow all the way through Cadillac, Traverse City, northeast part of the state. I'm going to show you some snowfall totals that, we might be ignoring some of the high-end snowfall totals because we're focusing on the ice storm. And then, of course, the UP has a winter storm warning in effect for it also. I like this graphic. This graphic was made by the National Weather Service at Grand Rapids yesterday, and it still holds true. So it shows you Detroit to Kalamazoo, freezing rain this afternoon, and then some rain. I don't know about the mostly rain. Okay, so Jeffrey Sossenheimer, we got our first report. Be careful. I-69 from Indiana into Michigan is absolutely a nightmare. Ice, ice, ice. So Jeffrey, I take it you've been driving on it already. So that's a good report. I-69 from Indiana into Michigan. And that's where I'll show you in just a second. The freezing rain is right now. So then you got your ice storm, south side of Grand Rapids, south side of Flint, through Lansing, through Ann Arbor. Then you've got your equal mix of three: sleet, snow, freezing rain, Grand Rapids, Elma, Big Rapids, maybe, through Saginaw, through Tuscola, parts of Tuscola, Lapeer, Sanilac counties. And then you've got your mainly snow, still in the southern sections with a little mix of sleet, but mainly snow to the north of that. So I do like this map as to give you an idea of what's going on. All right, here's your radar right now. And you can see the freezing rain. We had that report along I-69, and there you can see the freezing rain from the northeast corner of Indiana into around Coldwater or so. It will take a couple of hours before the precipitation really gets going in the south. One thing I'm noticing this morning, very dry air. So I'm going to show you a few observations. And what we have is we have a temperature like 32-ish in a lot of places and a dew point of about 19 or 20 degrees. Relative humidity 50%. What that says is it's very dry at the surface. So first off, on the radar, you're going to see precipitation and you say, it's not doing anything here. Why does the radar show that? It's evaporating as it comes down through drier air. Evaporating liquid causes cooling. So it takes the 32-degree temperature, and as soon as the precipitation starts to reach the ground and it's evaporating more and the air is moistened up, the temperature drops to 30 or 29. So those dry dew points are a sign of sleet. They're also a sign that we lean toward the temperature dropping rather than rising during the day. All right, so there's your radar. Snow in the north, light right now, and the storm just starting to come together. Here's what I wanted to show you: here are the latest observations. Let me hit. I'm not going to hit refresh because I don't want to mess it up. But so you could see Adrian reporting freezing rain, 32 degrees, dew point of 28. But then go northward, let's say to Lansing, 29, dew point of 21. East winds are also key. East winds do not warm up here in Michigan because they're coming off of cold Lake Erie. They're coming off of cold Lake Huron. So it takes a southeast wind before you get out of it. You get somewhat warmer, and you can see temperatures rise above freezing for rainfall, and we're just not seeing that yet. All right, now we're going to look at the radar forecast together so you can see how this is coming together. And again, I guess I want to say that, complex details, but the simple idea is it's going to start sometime this morning, and by late afternoon, we could have a burst of heavy precipitation coming through late afternoon into this evening. Many, if not all of our models show a half-inch burst of rain sometime early this evening with thunderstorms, and that could be freezing rain. So point is, if you think it's okay, get out there right now, do something for an hour or two, get yourself back. And I've had a lot of this. We can't time exactly when you should be home. So I had a friend say, hey, I have to go to a meeting at 10, and I see the ice storm warning begins at 10, and I should be home by 10:30. I can't tell you. Just get stuff done before it starts right now, and then you will not want to be on the roads this afternoon and tonight, and we'll hope for the warm up tomorrow. So we got to get into that. So here's your radar forecast. Hey, thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. If we all could hit the share button right now, let's see what kind of power we have. We're at 973 share. So we are looking at the radar forecast. Let's go to noon. Freezing rain probably, south of Lansing through Kalamazoo, Ann Arbor, and then the sleet and the snow developing. And then let's go to 3 in the afternoon, and you got a pretty solid area of freezing rain. Notice back towards Chicago, notice the southwest corner of lower Michigan, where it's not freezing rain. You see the yellows and the oranges. That's the heavy burst of precipitation that will be moving into the southern third of the state this afternoon and this evening, and some of that will be heavy freezing rain. So 4 o'clock, heavy freezing rain showing up Jackson area toward Lansing, south of Grand Rapids through the Detroit area. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, that's a mess. And look at the cold air damming. Look at how the cold air kind of wedges to the south and doesn't inch northward. So that's heavy freezing rain along I-94 this afternoon, this evening. You do not want to mess with that at all. Even if the salt is working on your car, if you get the heavy precipitation, your windshields will ice totally up. It'll be just a mess. 8 o'clock tonight, 9, 10, 11, midnight. So midnight, we're still freezing rain. Detroit, Lansing, Jackson, Grand Rapids, Flint, Saginaw, your sleet mixed with snow. North of Saginaw, Bay City northward, you're mostly snow through Traverse City, through Mackinac City, through Alpena. And notice the intensity is starting to come down after midnight and becomes more scattered. And notice that overnight, 3 and 4 a.m., the freezing rain comes to a stop somewhat in the southern half of the state. And now the models are all showing kind of a secondary little spurt of freezing rain tomorrow morning, more spotty, but that can be treacherous too. And the point is, it's not showing rain, which is my theory on the cold air is staying a little tighter into our region. We're at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and 3 and 4 and 5 o'clock. So the storm is winding down tomorrow, but the cold air is coming in, and it may make for a couple of days of nastiness. Okay, now here's the other error, so to speak, that could be happening. The official forecast, and I like it, is a quarter to a half inch of ice accumulation in the ice storm zone. And that's enough to tell you that, it's going to be dangerous. But all of the models forecasting this half inch to inch burst of rain, all of the models are accumulating over an inch of ice. So there's a significant difference between a half inch and an inch of ice. So I feel like if we see some adjustments later today on ice accumulation forecast official from the Weather Service, it will be upward some. And that would, I feel, happen somewhere north of I-94 to maybe about I-96, I-69. So somewhere in there, Oakland County through the Lansing area, through maybe the south side of Grand Rapids, southern Genesee County. So this is one of the models, and they all look very similar. And look at what it cranks out for freezing rain. 2 inches in one spot there by Lansing. And again, I think this gives you a good feel for where the ice will accumulate, and then where it tapers off rapidly northward and goes to sleet, where you could have 1 to 2 inches of sleet. I'm almost wanting to call it a sleet storm for northern Genesee County, northern Kent County, up toward the Saginaw area. So let's get into some of the forecasts. Now, I showed you the ice. Here's the snow. I'm using the blend of models. We'll get into some questions here very shortly. Thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. Please hit the share button. Would appreciate it very much. So this is total snowfall totals. So Flint and Grand Rapids, it's not really a snowstorm. It's a mix storm. 1 or 2 inches of snow, 1 or 2 inches of sleet, 1/10 of an inch of ice. Then you get into Saginaw, the heart of Saginaw, and north side of Saginaw. And then you start to go to 2 to 4 inches of snow, maybe an inch of sleet, maybe less than 1/10 of an inch of ice. And then you get to Bay City and Midland northward, and it's mostly snow with maybe, a half inch of sleet mixed in there. And so let's call it 6 to 10 inches from basically, north side of Bay City, Pinconning, north side of Midland County, Coleman, northward to probably all of the UP, probably all of Lower Michigan, the rest of northern Lower Michigan, including Traverse City, Cadillac, Gaylord, Alpena. The northeast side looks like it's got the heaviest. Now, what I want to show you is a model that I like. And I've used the blended models, but here's a model that I like just strictly on its own for a snowfall forecast. And it's heavier into the Bay City, Midland area, Mount Pleasant. It's up to 10, 11 inches there. But again, the mixture cuts that a couple. But it gives you a good feel for the gradient of ice storm to a mixed zone, Saginaw through Grand Rapids, and just north of that to a snowstorm in the northern sections. Okay, so everything is lining up as expected, and it's basically the story is dangerous, only emergency driving needed this afternoon, tonight, tomorrow. Now the big question we have to work on is when or if your location warms up above freezing tomorrow and things improve. I still think there will be a warm up to 35 degrees in up to about Saginaw in the late afternoon tomorrow. But not 40 to 45 and 55 to 60 in the south. So it's marginal, and it says the trend is towards squelching the warm up. And this is the model that I like for that. It does the best with surface temperatures. And we actually have now the brand new stuff. You're seeing it first right with me here. And then I'll get to the questions here in just a second. We're almost done with my slides. All right, so this is this evening, and it shows some 32s and 33s from I-94 southward, but then Lansing's 31, Grand Rapids 31, Flint 29, so Oakland County, Pontiac 30. So that's why you're seeing the freezing rain, the ice storm zone. The warmth actually slips south a little bit overnight, and we go back down in that ice storm zone to 29 and 30, and that's a cold enough temperature for ice accumulation. And then we wake up tomorrow morning to 28-ish or so, and then we wait for the warming trend, and it's not that robust. We're at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Flint's still 31. Grand Rapids 34. That would certainly help. It would at least help the main roads that have some salt on them. And then we go into tomorrow afternoon. Saginaw gets to 34. That would help a lot. 35 to Mount Pleasant. But remember, yesterday I was showing you temperatures in the 40s. And look at where the 40s, 50s, and 60s stay south of the Michigan border. And it's only about a 3 or 4 hour warm up, because then by nightfall tomorrow, the colder air starts to come in. So whoever doesn't warm up and melt off tomorrow afternoon, you're done on warming up until we get to Saturday or Sunday or so. All right, let's go back to the main map and let's take some questions. How does that sound? And I think the best map that we can show you all the time is this right now as I go through the questions. Gail Will, when will it start hitting Gladwin? I'd say you'll wait until early afternoon. You do have light snow around, but early afternoon. Let's see. Hey, good morning, Shelley Brown from Muskegon. You're welcome, Jamie Northrutt. ATB Construction Services LLC, I shared. Good morning to you in Davis and Flint. Does snow and ice management for anyone in Grand Traverse, or Genesee County, rather. So you're going to be into it. Kingsley, Carrie Draper, you're 6 inches at least to maybe 10 inches. Sandusky and Deckerville, you are in the equal parts, equal weighted zone. Sleet, snow, and 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. Your power outages will be less because sleet doesn't accumulate as much on power lines, if at all, and the freezing rain will be lighter there. Rob with Gwizdala, accumulation for Lake City and Frankenmuth. Lake City, 6 to 10. Frankenmuth, 2 or 3 inches snow, inch of sleet, 1/10 of an inch of ice. How much snow for New Baltimore and when? How much ice for New Baltimore and when does it? Where'd that go? And when does it start? Diana Alexander, New Baltimore, you are in the, I would call it the ice storm zone. You're looking at 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice, and it starts, probably by noon, maybe waiting until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. When will the ice start in the Lansing area? Let's go back to the current radar. Let me grab the update. Okay. So somebody asks, when does it start in Lansing? Soon. The dew points are low, so it's still very dry. But I would say within a couple of hours, it will start lightly in Lansing. All right. Let's see. Freeland area, Kathy Rivette. You're in the equal parts. 2-3 inches of snow, 1 inch of sleet, less than 1/10 of an inch of ice. Rick Orozco wants to play hockey. Ann Arbor area, Jack Clark, in the ice storm zone. Let's go back to this. Ann Arbor in the ice storm zone, quarter to half inch of ice. Hoping for a warm up sometime by late Thursday morning. If we get a pleasant surprise, it would be by early Thursday morning. Farmington Hills, Livonia, in the ice storm zone, quarter to a half inch. Stay off the roads second half of the afternoon and this evening when thunderstorms could be occurring with the freezing rain. Plymouth-Canton area is an advisory. Any chance of that area moving to a warning? I don't think so. There's probably not much movement with this one here, except maybe the ice storm warning could be officially put into Kent County and Genesee County, perhaps. Depending on how things shape up. What about Pinconning? You're mostly snow. So Pinconning, I'd say you're probably at least 4 to maybe 8 inches. You probably will have some sleet to pack it down. The models say 11, 12 inches in Pinconning, but I think the packing of the mixture will drop you to a solid 8. Bay City, Valerie Strawn, Bay City. Transition zone, mostly snow, probably from the south side of Bay City, 2 or 3 inches of snow, 1 inch of sleet, 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. North side of Bay City, 5, 6 inches snow, inch of sleet, less freezing rain. Corey Brown. It looks like for now it's predict track mostly west to east. If we get a shift in the track, is it more likely to shift ice snow lines northerly or southerly? I think it's not going to shift a whole lot other than, just 10 miles either way. Muskegon, good question, Muskegon. I'm not forgetting you. You're on the edge of ice storm versus equal mix, so you're going to have yourself a mess. I don't think you'll have the heavy ice accumulation of massive power outages, so you're probably 2/10 of an inch of freezing rain, probably an inch of sleet, and you're probably 2 to 4 inches of snow. How about Waterford? Waterford, you're in the ice storm zone. You're mostly quarter to half inch freezing rain, and it comes heavily in the evening hours. Did we drop out? Let's see here. We did. Okay, hold on a second. Let me get this back. Hopefully we're back. Okay, we are. Jaretha Flannery, should I cancel 1 o'clock appointment for Thursday? I don't know where it's at. If it's in the far southern part of the state, I-94 southward, you're probably going to be okay. Anywhere north of that, it's pretty iffy. There are better days. It's not the greatest day to go somewhere. How much snow on the shore near Harbor Beach, Port Hope? You're probably a couple of inches, and you also get the mix, and you get the 1 inch of sleet and 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. And my system keeps dropping out on me, so that's not really good. All right. Harbor Beach, all snow, David Kinney? No. Harbor Beach, mix 2, probably leaning towards snow and sleet, but do I think Rochester is in the ice zone? Yes, Alyssa, definitely. Battle Creek in the ice storm zone. Cassopolis, Michigan, you're probably going to warm up fairly quickly, so you have spotty freezing rain this morning, early afternoon, then you'll probably warm up. When is the ice store for Waterford, Clarkston area? Noon to 2 in the afternoon, latest. Joel Hoffman, good question. How about the wind forecast? We're looking at, I've kind of been ignoring that. I got to get onto that, but we're looking at most areas 35 to 45 mile an hour gusts. Will southern Kent get good ice? I'm in Coulterville. Andorra Simpson, good ice. I don't know if those two words go together, but yeah, southern Kent County will lean more toward the freezing rain than the sleet and snow. So southern Kent County is probably, at least 2/10 to maybe up to a half inch of freezing rain. Thoughts on the airports this evening? Flint, Detroit, Grand Rapids. Uh, Probably not happening. I learned this from some airport managers. Airports do not close. I guess, this is what they tell me. Airport is not closed. It's misinformation to say the airport is closed. The individual pilots and the individual airlines will cancel flights, but the airport is still open and they continue to maintain the runway so that planes and pilots and the airline companies can decide whether they want to take off or not. But airports themselves do not close. All right, so there we have it. Thanks for joining me. We're still 650 of us on here. What's the plans for today? I'm just going to continue to update you. What could change? I think we could bump up the ice accumulation in the ice storm zone to some area having an inch. I think we have to watch very closely how far north the warm air will come or not come tomorrow. That's very important because in places that don't melt off on the power lines, then you're going to have the cold wind picking back up, and then you can have a longer term of stress on the power lines. If you have a generator, go get your gas now and get her cranked up. And what will that do? That will ensure that you do not lose power and your neighbors don't either. All right, so pretty simple, common sense, be safe. The end of my post this morning, I didn't know if I was stepping on lines because I hate telling people what to do. I feel like I'm the meteorologist. I give you the details here. You decide if you want to risk your life and limb. So I hate telling people what to do. Guess what? We're in that time of our history where sometimes you got to tell people what to do for their own good. So at the end of my post, I said, hey, parents, don't be a friend to your kids today. Be a parent. Tell them what they have to do. Stay home. And you know what that means? If the parent is 80 and the son is 60 and he's going to do something stupid, the 80-year-old calls up and says, no, son, stay home. If the parent is 60 and the daughter is 35, calls up the daughter and says, no, daughter, stay home. And you know what? Kids can do the opposite because some of the parents don't have any common sense either. So there you have it. We'll keep you updated as best we can on MLive.com, and we would appreciate if you share everything that you feel is pertinent for your friends and family safety. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update.